Local presentation of Read About It is made possible in part by a grant from Cox Communications of Oklahoma City, proud sponsor of this effort to promote reading, education, and literacy in our community.
The horror that lurks in everyday life will be the topic on Read About It tonight. Hi, I'm BJ Williams. John Wooley will tell us about his novel, The Dark Within. Susie Beasley will talk with Phil Talbert. Kids Corner will feature Heidi Johnson. We also have Doug Benton and Clyde Martin. Coming up, John Wooley.
The following public service program is brought to you by the Metropolitan Library System. And now, Read About It, with your host, BJ Williams.
A few months ago at the Oklahoma Book Awards, I was able to talk with a number of the authors that were there. One of them was John Wooley, who was a finalist for the Oklahoma Book Award for fiction, and he told me about his novel, Dark Within. Now, John is an Oklahoman. He has written fiction, nonfiction, screenplays, journalism. He's written a couple of novels with Ron Wolf, and he also wrote How to Make It in the Music Business with musical impresario Jim Halsey. Dark Within is published by Oklahoma's very own Hawk Publishing, and I think you'll enjoy what John had to say about his book.
Well, John, what inspired you to write a book like this?
Well, this is a book about community, BJ. I mean, it's a horror novel, and I call it an existential horror novel, but it's also about community, and in that way it was inspired, I think, by Steinbeck, who's my favorite author, and Cannery Row, Sweet Thursday, some of those things he did. The idea of community, especially now, the spin I put on is community versus technology, and the idea that we have pretend community now, and it's not really face-to-face people, and I think that's very terrifying. And I also got into the thing about when you have kind of alternate realities, when you were brought up one way with all these friends, and then they kind of disperse, and then you think what your life would have been if you went this way or this way or this way, and that's why I call it an existential horror novel. But as my publisher Bill Bernhardt told me, they don't have existential horror sections at Barnes and Noble, so it's just a horror story.
Not the last time I looked.
No, ma'am.
Maybe you're starting a trend.
Well, I hope so. I hope so.
Well, I found it interesting that some of the horror and some of the terror, in effect, was facilitated by that sense of community.
Absolutely, it is, and the sense of community to me is very strong. I live in a place very much like what's pictured in Dark Within. I live in a small area outside a small town where everybody knows. It's got like a big avuncular network. Everybody knows everybody's names, and that's a double-edged sword, of course. I mean, because it's like a family, but everybody knows everyone else's business. But the horror comes, I think, and this is where the existentialism comes in, from being detached from that, being cut off and not having that. You know, there are people in the cities who live, and they may live next door to somebody for years and years and never know their neighbor. Mm-hmm. And I think that's tragic. I think that's awful.
Yeah. And in effect, that's what you did with one of your characters, and I have to confess, I don't remember his name.
That's quite all right. I'm not sure I do either. But he is, because, and that's a very, I'm a Presbyterian, and our idea is that hell is separation from God. And that's a thread that's throughout the book. Not that there's necessarily flames or anything else, but we're simply separated from God. This character becomes separated. He never really thought that would be enough, and he realizes that it's the complete existential thing, separation from other people, separation from society, separation from everything, and he's just floating. That's the most terrifying thing he's ever seen.
Well, and separation from himself, because I remember at one point he's saying,
yeah.
I don't know whether I'm screaming or not. I
Yes.
don't know if I've spoken this out loud or not.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And then the evil guy, Card,
Yes.
I know what struck me was that he used this man's relationship with Card too,
Yes.
to provoke some of that
Absolutely
torture.
right, because it was a relationship, and it was the way that you separate people is by putting those things between them, putting up those things. They're really, BJ, when you think about it, threads really bind ourselves to one another, and it's very easy to block those threads or cut those threads. They're very fragile. And that's one of the things that I wanted to get in there, that they're very easy. They can be cut by greed. They can be cut by really technology, although that's morally neutral. There can be cut by a lot of things.
By baseball on every channel.
That's exactly right, although I like baseball on every channel. That's right, though.
As long as there's not one of those shiny metal boxes
That's
out
right,
and back,
that's right. That's right. I tried to pick what would appeal to me, and baseball on every channel would have.
Right. Well, I could kind of see him sort of sitting back saying, wow, the Rangers. Oh, wow, I can get behind this. Well, do you get your characters then from the people that you know?
Oftentimes, I do, and they're amalgam. I mean, I think really you move to a certain place in your writing that's a better place when everybody is not you. You know, I think a lot of first novelists, the people are you, the protagonist is you. In this, the protagonist, someone said, every character in your book has a quality of the writer. And I really believe that. Even Card in this particular book has some qualities. Because, I mean, let's face it, having everything you want and having 5,000 channels and having every Major League Baseball game on TV anytime you want is a very seductive thing. But I have a friend named Dennis King, who's the movie critic at the Tulsa World, wonderful writer, and he says, you pay for it at one end or you pay for it at the other, and that's one of my favorite sayings ever.
Well, and I think also that quite a few of us, given that genius mentality that probably makes you feel cut off a little bit anyway, given that kind of power, would probably use it, and maybe even more destructively than Card was trying to do.
I'd like to think that we wouldn't, but on the other hand, maybe we would. I'd like to think that, you know, and it gets back to religion again. I mean, you have all of these ways we have of worshiping now, and you start wondering, you know, the old bracelets, WWJD, what would Jesus do? What really would Jesus do? Would he be, I mean, he could have been as powerful as anything in the world. And what would he have done? And I think about that with people with all kinds of power, and I like to think that most of us, you and me especially, would not misuse it and would use it for the common good.
I'm going to keep my fingers crossed
I
on
hope
that
so.
one.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I have to ask you why you write horror novels.
You know, my mother has a theory on this. My mother tells me that it's because my father died when I was very young. I was about 3 years old. And my mother has always thought, I've been obsessed with horror since I was a child, horror movies, and I've written a lot of nonfiction nonfiction horror things. And of course, I write about horror movies for the Tulsa World, as well as country music. I'm the only country music horror movie reviewer in newspapers in America, I think. But I think maybe it's a way of dealing with death. It's the same reason people get on roller coasters. It's the same reason people go to horror movies. They want to be frightened, and they want to be taken almost to that place of being beyond themselves, being dead, being cheating death or confronting death, but knowing then that it's over and it's done and you're fine. And I think there's a real cathartic, I mean, Aristotle said it, it's the Aristotelian catharsis. I mean, if you see all this horror and you live through it, then you're okay.
And I think that there's also that element of conquering it.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
I'm not sure I'm giving anything away by saying that things do work out fairly well.
Right.
But I think that's the whole idea of it sometimes.
That is the whole idea, but the community and people and all of us together can really, if we don't go with our baser instincts, and if we do go with getting outside ourselves and helping others, and in turn having others help us, then we can conquer anything. And I think that's a profound message. It's a simple message, it's a profound one.
Yeah, but people have to be aware of that community. You do have to find out the name of the person that you're living next to.
Don't you? I mean, but not necessarily. I mean, you can even. I've told I teach Sunday school. I've told my Sunday school students. I said, you know, if you get on a bus and you're never going to see that bus driver again, that bus driver is going to depend on what he sees from you as to how he knows you forever. So if you say, hi, it's nice to see you, nice day, and go on, that may change his outlook forever. You may never see him again. But even if you don't know him, there are things that you can do. I mean, I don't want to be a Pollyanna about it, but that's really the message of a lot of what I do, what I write.
Yeah. Well, I have to say that if I'm in an establishment and somebody gives me a smile and says hi, then I feel a little bit better than if they glare at me and afraid I've glared a few times.
Well,
at
and
people.
you've glared and people have glared at you. But you know, if you're outside in another town, it's going to be the waiters, it's going to be the cab drivers, it's going to be who are going to give you the impression of that city and just give you the impression of what your life was like when you were there. We can all help each other.
I think that's a wonderful place to end the interview.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
John Wooley's book, Dark Within, can be found at libraries and your favorite bookstore. Mr. Wooley also has another book coming out shortly, and perhaps we can get him to come down and tell us about it as well. Coming up next is Susie Beasley from the Midwest City Library. She'll be talking with Phil Talbert from the Capitol Hill Library about something I think you'll enjoy very much.
Phil, what can you tell us about MTV Unplugged Superstars?
Well, this is an interesting video all about acoustical music, and if you can understand acoustic music as music that you can play on an instrument that does not have to be plugged into electricity in order to get the sound out of it, then you get an idea of what this is all about. We're using instruments like pianos and saxophones and trumpets and guitars and things that are all common instruments that have been around forever that we've commonly heard from for years. And so these artists are playing concerts, roughly 4 minutes, excerpts from concerts that they have been given across the country in different places. And so you get a good variety from a wide variety of artists across the country.
So, how is it organized?
Well, within a 4-minute period, you get to see the artist performing. They're providing you with music from the. A lot of it was earlier than the 90s, but the actual concert took place in some era of the 90s, some period in the 1990s. And so you've got, I've got Paul Simon doing one called Late in the Evening, a group called Squeeze doing Pulling Muscles from a Shell. I don't know all these artists. Tony Bennett, of course, doing I Left My Heart in San Francisco.
And that Hootie and the Blowfish.
Yeah, I don't know that one that very well.
Hold My Hand.
I don't know a lot of these artists, but still, you get a good variety and you get a good exposure to a lot of different talent.
And now, are there other videos in the library system?
As far as I can remember, there are 4 that we have in the library system. I can't remember all of the titles, but one is definitely on the classics, and then there's one, Eric Clapton by himself doing a series of things of different music where he's adapted older songs into the nowadays styles.
And the running time is about, what, about 35?
About 35 minutes, roughly, yeah, and about 4-minute excerpts on each artist.
And what production company helped put these together?
It's MTV, Music for TV Productions, right.
So I think Sony may have had
Could be in.
to do with it too. And it came out in last year.
It was the year 2000, that's correct.
Okay,
right.
then. So what type of audience would love MTV Unplugged?
I was thinking about that. I believe anyone that has an interest in the acoustic style of music, regardless of what age they were, if they're interested in that style of music and they want an intimate setting and just a kind of a quiet getaway from the normal sound of the heavy metal, this would be the thing for anyone like that.
Well, Phil, we appreciate you coming and sharing the video, MTV Unplugged Superstars. This is available at your local library and perhaps your local video store. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Phil and Susie. And now I have a few books for you. I'm sure if you've listened to this program before, you have heard me say about history that you can't know where you're going if you don't know where you've come from. And I have come up with another reason to read a little bit about history. If you don't know anything about history, it has a really bad tendency to bite you where it hurts the most when you least expect it. There are a number of books in the Metropolitan Library system that I think you might find helpful in explaining a little bit about the recent events that we have most unfortunately and tragically experienced in the last week or so. The one that I particularly want to talk about is called The 50 Years' War. Now, if you missed the TV special on PBS, this book actually has a great deal more information than you found in the PBS special. It is really the distillation of 4 years of work interviewing heads of state, prime ministers, foreign ministers, defense ministers, intelligence chiefs, soldiers, guerrilla leaders, journalists, and academics. This is all part of the brainchild of the production team at WGBH Boston and the BBC. They put this together, and they got a couple of people to do really oversee the thing and do a great deal of the work for them, and they are the ones who wrote the 50 Years' War. That is Aaron Bregman, who was born in Israel. He now lives in London. He was 3 years in the Knesset. He has written a number of books. This is his most recent one. The person he worked with was Jahan El-Tari. She was born in Lebanon of Egyptian parents. She is a journalist. She's worked for Reuters, U.S. News, Washington Post, Financial Times, and now she works for French TV. They're the ones who did all of these interviews. They work together. This book is a joint effort of the two of them, and they have really come up with some surprising new details about Israel's early attempts to become a state. The war in 1948, the Six-Day War in 1967, the Yom Kippur War of 1973, the Camp David Accord in 82, the Intifada beginning in 1987, and the current attempts to consolidate it, that is at least up through Benjamin Netanyahu's prime ministership. More depth in the TV series. This book and many others like it will explain, or at least help you understand a little bit about the Middle East and also about Afghanistan. Librarians will help you find the books that you need to understand a little bit of what's going on. Now, my next book is Community Quilts, How to Organize, Design, and Make a Community Quilt. Making quilts together, quilting bees, are an American tradition. This is a gorgeous book. Even if you don't want to get a bunch of friends together to make a quilt, you will really enjoy the beautiful quilts that this group has put together. And if you do, it will tell you how to organize a group to do that. Coming up next is Kids Corner. I was able to talk with Heidi Johnson from the Metropolitan Library System about some kids for our very youngest readers. Heidi, what have you brought for us tonight?
Hi, BJ. Well, I brought a book called Amish Horses. And I have to say, first of all, the illustrations are what really drew my eye. But as I started reading the story itself, it really drew me into the life that this little Amish boy is leading. He talks about the horses he takes care of and the big part that horses have in Amish life, both as workhorses, as transportation, as a friend to the little boy. I also learned a lot about the different types of horses, different farm chores that they're performing, needs of horses, also that each breed has their own personality, and within each individual horse there are again different traits, and it also talks about this one horse this little boy has, Roy, that he is especially close to. And it's just a very heartwarming story. It talks about Amish life in general. It takes you to a horse fair and a horse auction, and he, at the very end, he brings home a new friend. And it's just a very nice story for parents to read with their children.
It sounds great, and as you said, the illustrations are absolutely gorgeous.
Yes, they are. So it's a visually attractive book as well.
Yeah. As well as learning all kinds of things about horses and farming.
Yes, and generally also the Amish way of life, which I think is very interesting in itself.
Yeah. Now that's, again, a read-to book. So you sit down, you put the kids beside you, and you start reading.
You start reading the story together. And maybe embellishing on it and thinking, what might I have done in that situation?
Right. Or asking the kids to tell you what's going on in the pictures. I have found that really useful.
Yes, have them put their own spin on things, which sometimes has nothing to do with the original story.
Now, this next one, we just have a brief time to talk about. This is what, Granny's Bloomers?
Well, she is known as Granny Bloomers because she always wore bloomers, and when she gets into a race with the little children in the neighborhood, she'll pick up her skirt, and she doesn't care if her bloomers are showing, but she's having fun with the children. It shows a beautiful yard, her love for animals, nature in general, and just a special relationship she has with her granddaughter Annie, and the special things they do together.
Again, beautifully illustrated in quite a different style from the Amish horses.
That's right. This one is very much more a Victorian style, lavish illustrations, very much attention to detail, bright colors, whereas the Amish one has more the darker illustrations, and but both of them are beautifully illustrated, and people should have a lot of fun reading them with their children.
Thank you, Heidi. And remember, you can find Amish horses and Granny's Bloomers at your library and your favorite bookstore.
It's time now to do the New York Times bestseller list, and we'll start out as usual with the hardback fiction for adults. Number 10 on that list is Total Recall by Sarah Paretsky, Long Time No See by Susan Isaacs, Lake Wobegon, Summer 1956 by Garrison Keillor, Shock by Robin Cook, Cane River by Lalita Tademi, The Corrections by Jonathan Franzen, The Smoke Jumper by Nicholas Evans, Suzanne's Diary for Nicholas by James Patterson. Number 2 is Sandra Brown's Envy, and number 1, once again, is Clive Cussler's Valhalla Rising. On the nonfiction hardback list, number 10 is Founding Brothers by Joseph Ellis, Ava's Man by Rick Bragg, Savage Beauty by Nancy Milford, Ghost Soldiers by Hampton Sides, Tuesdays with Maury by Mitch Albom, Living a Life That Matters by Harold Kushner, Call Me Crazy by Anne Hesh, Crossing Over by John Edward, John Adams by David McCullough is number 2, and Stephen Ambrose's The Wild Blue is number 1. On the children's list, number 10 is The Night Before Kindergarten by Natasha Wing, Lord Brocktree by Brian Jacques, The Case of the Dog Camp Mystery by Judy Katchke, Corduroy's Best Halloween Ever by Don Freeman, Quidditch Through the Ages by Kenilworthy Wisp, The Princess Diaries by Meg Cabot, Holes by Louis Sekar, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling. Number 2 is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, also by J.K. Rowling. And number 1 is Dav Pilkey's Captain Underpants and the Wrath of the Wicked Wedgie Woman. Coming up next, we have Doug Benton of the Metropolitan Library System and the Oklahoma Gazette. He'll be talking with Clyde Martin, that renowned radio opera host and great actor, and they have a book they really want to share with you.
Thanks. Hello again, everybody. I'm here with Clyde Martin. Clyde, you have a book called The Hollywood History of the World.
That's right.
What does Hollywood know about the history of the world?
Well,
come on now.
This author says not a great deal, really. But then, of course, movies have always depended a lot on historical subjects.
Certainly.
Of course, the costume film, you know, the DeMille things and all the spectacle things and all that. And so he talks about how some of them are, as far as factual, aren't very factual.
aren't very, yes.
But he says part of the problem is not really so much the story. Of course, we accept that concessions are made in telling the story, but in some of the dialogue. And he quotes some of it, for instance, in Sign of the Cross.
Okay.
Claude Colbert as Poppaea says to Charles Lawton as Nero, "I'm afraid I'm rubbing you the wrong way."
Nero would have liked that, actually, I think.
and then in a dreadful film called Sodom and Gomorrah, Stuart Granger is Lot, Pier Angeli is his wife who looks back. And when she looks back, the whole screen begins to crumble. And Anuka May, as the queen, says, "Oh, it's just a little summer storm, nothing to worry about."
Pretty casual for the end of the world as they do it.
Well, anyway, he says, this is the thing. Now, he says, now, sure, they very well may have said something like this, but it just doesn't sound right.
Totally out of context, yes.
Anyway, he doesn't really review the films. He used to be a film reviewer, by the way.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yes, he did. And but he doesn't really do that. He just tries to give an idea of some films that are accurate and others that really are off the wall. And I have brought along several videos, which are all in the library, by the way, which are mentioned in this book. He says one of the worst is the fall of the Roman Empire.
Oh, that's...
And then he talks about how there are some stories that are better told as fiction, strictly fiction, rather than the incident is true, yes, like the French Revolution. And he says, for instance, Tale of Two Cities, based on Dickens, is really a much better film than Marie Antoinette.
Well.
It just simply has the feel of the period better and that sort of thing. And then, here is Oklahoma's own contribution to Hollywood history, Cimarron, about the run.
The Run.
And then he says, All Quiet on the Western Front is really one of the very best films of history. And then we get to 30 Seconds Over Tokyo, which we saw a little bit of in Pearl Harbor, but not nearly as well done as this.
Okay. Well, Clyde, thank you. The book is The Hollywood History of the World by George MacDonald Fraser. Thanks for bringing it in. Thank you all for watching and listening, and we will see you again soon.
Thanks, Doug and Clyde. And something really exciting and fun is going to be happening at the Bethany Library this Saturday, September 22nd from 2 to 4 p.m. There's going to be a health fair, and this will be open to all ages. There are going to be all sorts of exciting and informative things for you to find there. The Bethany Police Department will be conducting Project ID at the library. Your child can have his or her photo and fingerprints taken for identification. The Bethany Fire Department and the Mercy Care Unit will also be there. They will bring their equipment so kids can get to see a fire truck up close and personal, and they will have people there to answer questions about fire safety and about health and emergency care. Now, for entertainment, the clown team Stumbles and Giggles will be there demonstrating, I suppose, their own raucous brand of health care. Safe Kids Coalition members will be on hand to do a child safety seat inspection. So if you have any concerns about the car seat that you're using, the Coalition will be there to tell you whether it's working or not. If you're curious about whether your height and your weight coordinate at all, there will be professionals from the Deaconess Hospital who will be checking both of those, also taking blood pressure and giving you that information and telling you whether you need to see a doctor or if you're doing just great. There will be a nutritionist available as well. Linda Duncan will be there to answer questions that you have about whether you're eating right or not and what you can do to lead a healthier life. The area-wide aging agency, the American Cancer Society, and the YMCA will be there. There will be informational material available, and they will also be there to answer questions about what is available to help all of us in the area. This is from 2 to 4 p.m. on Saturday, September the 22nd. Everybody is invited. I think you can not only have a lot of fun, but learn a great deal about health and health care as well. For information, you can call the Bethany Library, and they will be happy to fill you in on any specifics about that as well. The Community Health Fair is co-sponsored by the Friends of the Metropolitan Library System. I think you'll enjoy it very much. And if you can't make that particular event, there are lots of other things happening all around the library system. You can access all of that information at the library's very own website, www.mls.lib.ok.us. This website not only has information about all the programs that are happening this month, it has the addresses and telephone numbers of all the libraries. You can find programs for children. There will be story times, there are book discussions, there are informational events for adults, there's computer training available. Besides the computers and the for both word processing, and we have computers in every library that will allow you to get on the internet and go cruising for information. The website is available to keep you informed about what's happening, and we hope to see you again next week.